Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the NORA B Series, where the NASCAR Xfinity cars will take to the 2-mile Daytona International Speedway. We've got 85 good laps for you here tonight, brought to you by the NORA B Series, and it's set to be a good one. And we're back with the NORA B Series. It's been quite a minute, so let's get you caught on up of everything that's happened since we last brought you one of their races. So it's been a little while. We last saw you on July 22nd at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. That week, Dalton Tucker came away with the win, and he would win coming back at Iowa Speedway, 200 laps there, and he would take the checkered flag there as well. Road America would prove a little bit tougher for Mr. Tucker as Sean Briscoe took the checkered flag there, and then back-to-back road course weeks as they went to Watkins Glen the following week for 70 laps around that speedway there, and Trevor Apollo took the checkered home in that one. Last week, 127 laps at Dover International Speedway. Dalton Tucker took home the pole, and Dalton Tucker took home the checkered flag. So a great run for Mr. Tucker as we look at your standings. Corey Wharton sitting in first, Dalton Tucker in second, Todd Slauson in third, Sean Briscoe in fourth, Chad Engel fifth, Bruce Ackerman in sixth, Colby Wells in seventh, Ryan Kendrick in 8th, Matthew George in 9th, Josh Thaxton in 10th, Trey James in 11th, and Mark Stryker in 12th. Reminder that those top 12 drivers will be the ones making the playoffs here in about 3 weeks' time. Daytona, Darlington, and Richmond standing in their way before we get into the top 12. After those top 12, they head to Bristol, Las Vegas, and Charlotte Roval. Those 3 races. Out of those 3 races, we'll get 8 top drivers. Those top 8 will do battle at Kansas, Texas, and Martinsville. And then that sets up the championship 4 at Phoenix Raceway. And that should be a good one under the lights for championship night on November 11th. So qualifying underway here at Daytona, and a little bit about the speedway before we kick things off. You're going to see a different style of racing here tonight. We got super speedway type racing. That means a lot of these drivers going to be nose to tail here tonight in a big pack and a big group of cars. When a wreck happens, you'll see it as it's going to take quite a bunch of cars with it most likely. And that's just kind of a byproduct of this style of racing. It's going to provide some serious action. You're going to see drivers poke their nose up, and maybe drivers who haven't been able to be up there at the front be able to poke their noses up towards the front of the field throughout this one. You might notice drivers having an O. That means they're driving for owner's points and not the points that I just listed. Any driver that doesn't have an O next to their name are driving for their self, or an R. That's Dalton Tucker. You see him up there at the top of points as well. So qualifying going to get squared on away here. And qualifying at a super speedway a little bit different than qualifying at really a lot of other tracks that we might go to. As you'll see, the driver just kind of run wide open across that bottom. Some drivers prefer the top line And what we've seen in the past is the top line really work for a lot of guys throughout the race. So we'll see if that is indeed how things go tonight, or if we see the bottom line really dominate all night long. Well, like we mentioned, let's go through a little bit of the track before we get set to go here. Daytona, a couple configurations. We're going to be racing on the tri-oval here tonight. 2.5 miles around this circuit, 4 turns with 31 degrees of banking in the corners, 18 on the tri-oval, and 2 on the back straightaway. That is second only in terms of banking to Talladega, which is, I believe, 33 degrees of bank. Daytona completely repaved in 2013. So track nice and smooth through the corners, and drivers should be able to kind of hold on to that line very well here tonight. Tonight we're in the NASCAR Xfinity Series car, not the NASCAR Cup car. Still going to put out somewhere around 550 horsepower in that pushrod V8 engine, so look forward to that. And it is restrictor plates tonight, meaning the engines are restricted. That's why you see all the cars run in a pack like they will do all race long. We're going to be joined at some point tonight by Josh Conover, the league administrator, and he'll be joining us here up in the booth, and we're going to bring you the broadcast together here tonight. So it should be a good one for you. Josh is going to take the front stretch and turns 1 and 2, and you'll hear my voice down the back straightaway and turns 3 and 4. For the NORAB series, pretty long season for these guys. This is race 24 out of this long stretch of season. It's going to be 33 total races, and you can do the math. Almost an entire year, especially once you get those off weeks in there as well. And so cool to see a league like this with so many drivers turn out here tonight. Big field. So a lot of drivers trying to sneak on into the playoffs. As those are quickly counting down. So as we get set to go here from Talladega, you let us know who you're rooting for in the chat. Cheers for the 62 car already. And that's Nate Defiant out there in the 62, currently looking like he's going to be qualified in the 10th position. Ryan Kendrick out on track, almost catching him on that lap. Not able to do it right there. And you're going to see some great paint schemes here tonight. That's one thing we've learned, if anything, from the NORAB series is just how good we see a lot of these paint schemes. As we're going to get set to go green here momentarily. So let's run you through the starting grid. Brought to you by the NORAB series. Dalton Tucker going to be starting on the pole here tonight. We'll see if he can stay there all night long. Jake Boyer on his outside starts in second. Jason Brewer will roll off third. Josh Susie starts fourth. Sean Briscoe and Todd Slauson start in row 3. They start 5th and 6th. Rolling off in 7th is going to be Brandon Andrews, and on his outside, Alexander Edelman in the 25 machine. Trevor Apollo will roll off 9th, and rounding out the top 10 here is Nate Defia. We saw some cheers for him in the chat. Let's see that Santa Fe scream. Hopefully the 62 can jump up into the top spot before the night is over. Ryan Kendrick will roll off 11th in the 00, and on his outside, Blade Timmons rolls off 12th. Chad Engel will roll off 13th, and Drayton Cook will take the green in 14th. Keegan Blitzer in the 95 will start 15th, and Brian Powell will start 16th. Colby Wells will roll off 17th, and on his outside, Corey Wharton. Expect that number 20 machine to find his way toward the front of the field before this one's said and done. Tim Abril will start 19th, and Martin Plute in 20th. Donald Echtker in the number 1 machine rolls off 21st, and Matthew George starts 22nd. That's going to do it for your field here as they roll off of pit road. You're going to see Dalton Tucker take them off of pit road, and it's a good time to hear the voice of Josh Conover as he joins us up in the booth here tonight. Josh, what are you looking for here tonight?
Hopefully some good racing and not a lot of carnage. I know I was turning some laps in practice, and these cars were overheating within, maybe 3/4 of a lap to a lap. It's going to be interesting to see who can kind of manage those temps while trying to, advance to the front.
Absolutely, and a couple kind of schools of thought in terms of super speedway racing. You have drivers that might want to be up in front, stay out of the wrecks, and you have drivers that might want to be all the way in the back, try to avoid the wrecks. Worst place you can be, general consensus, right in the middle. So we'll see who gets stuck there and who tries to make their way either forward or backward as we roll off here at Daytona.
Well, another thing too, I know, like I said, I was turning some laps. You can get about 35, 36 laps on a tank depending on where you're at in the draft. So you won't have to deal with that with the stages. Stages are laps 21 and 42, but that third stage, kind of like where you were saying, do you ride around the back and wait to the end, or do you run up front and try and control the race?
Absolutely. So we're going to get answers to all these questions. And Space Car takes us out of turn 4, heading toward that start-finish line. Dalton Tucker going to be in control of this restart. We're going to get set to rock and roll. Green flag in the air, and we are underway here at Daytona. Dalton Tucker leads the field down past the start-finish line. He's got Boyer on his outside and Brewer right along with him as they head 2x2 into turn 1.
It'll be interesting to see, like you mentioned before the race, who's going to stay up front and who's going to drop to the back. I think Boyer's main, thought normally at the super speedways is drop to the back, but being he's going for honors points, you might see him stay up front and try and lead this race.
Absolutely. Down the back straightaway, we have a couple cars dropping to the bottom. Make that 3 cars, it looks like, going to go below that WL line and drop on back. Boyer up to the front. He's going to take the lead heading into 3 and 4. He's got Susie with him. And watch out for the 22 of Slauson as they come off of turns 3 and 4.
Yeah, another thing, too, we kind of didn't really touch on, pre-race, just the teammates, the same manufacturers, working together. I know Boyer and Susie, they're on Fireball Racing. And then right behind them, Dalton actually drives for me for Flatline. But other than that, right now in the second group, you got Edelman and Timmons up top. They're teammates. I know they got Trevor Rapolo back there as well, teammates. So it's going to be, like I said, interesting to see, who can hook up with who early on and maybe make a partnership for later in the race.
You see it starting to shake on out. We have one big group up there at the front. It's sort of 2x2. And now a second group forming back behind them. We'll see if they're content to run in these 2 packs or if drivers start to try and push up to that first pack. So far, all good as they head back toward the start-finish line, lap 3 out of 85.
Another thing, too, I know you had kind of touched on it before I came up, but, approaching the playoffs, A lot of owners points guys running tonight, which kind of seems to be the norm. But if you're going for the title in this series, do you maybe push to the front and risk being in the big one, or getting turned by an aggressive bump drafter just to try and get them stage points?
Absolutely. And with the stages, that does kind of shake things up a little bit as well. A couple guys who are up there at the top of points, and you see kind of a big gap there in the first couple. So we might see one of those guys like a Todd Slauson or Corey Warden maybe take a risk up here in the first stage, and we'll wait and see as I head back toward the start-finish line.
And kind of like I said earlier about Boyer, normally, for instance, when we were here in February, he kind of wanted to ride in the back, make sure he saved his equipment for the end. Same thing with Brian Powell, Martin Plute, and them guys, and in our truck series. But like I said, I think you're seeing now Jake's kind of going for it. He's going for owner's points. He's really got nothing to lose. Whereas Brian and Martin and even Chad Engel, right in the back, maybe trying to save their equipment, make sure they don't get any damage, so that way they can make a push at the end.
Absolutely, and something that you might see in some other iRacing broadcasts is a fast repair. Don't believe we have a fast repair here tonight, so any damage you get on your car, you're kind of stuck with for the rest of the way. And at a super speedway like Daytona, where it's so draft dependent, it is imperative you keep your car in as good shape as possible.
Yeah, that is right. We have no fast repairs here. They have 3 sets of tires in the pits, which you may or may not want to use. I know me personally, if I have the tires, I'll use them just to kind of make those aggressive moves a little bit safer, I guess you could say. But I'm no surprise though. Dalton Tucker trying to get up front and try and control this race with Edelman pushing him and Timmons and all the Supras, and then one Ford back there in that outside line as well.
A good point there from Josh. You're going to see the manufacturers maybe start to group on up here a little bit, as well as guys thinking about sending it 3 wide here in turn 3 and 4. They think better of it. The 24 holding that top groove. And we mentioned what's going to be the faster groove. Normally we see it as the top groove, but it's not been gathered all together just yet. We'll wait and see if that changes.
It's definitely tough. I know maybe later in the race, or maybe that third stage, you get a little wear in your tires maybe and less fuel, and might be able to make it work. But you also will have to kind of pinch that bottom line down a little bit. And I know guys like Dalton, Blade, and Alex, and even Donald Etcher, who's making a rare appearance here in the B Series, they're experienced. They know, hey, 85 laps, no need to really pinch that hard and push that hard on lap 6.
Absolutely, and something we always like to talk about, just the vast array of iRatings we get in a race like this, and really all very high iRatings that we're seeing across the board here in the NORA B Series. So going to be some good racing through the end of this one. We'll see if everyone behaves for this first stage, or if maybe toward that end of that first stage we see guys pushing for those stage points.
It's kind of interesting too that I've been watching. I've been going back and forth from the front pack and that second pack, and TI Racing, Drayton Cook, Colby Wells, Tim Averill, kind of running the middle to the top, but they've actually started to close that gap in on that front pack, and they've kind of pulled Keegan and that second pack with them.
Head down that back straightaway. You are seeing a little bit as we start to gather on up. Maybe a big pack forming. I'll have to wait and see. Still 2x2 in this front pack. No one wanting to jump out and make it 3 wide just yet. Everyone behaving as we finish lap 7 of 85.
And I'm actually impressed, really. I mean, other than obviously Edelman and Tucker and Timmons and the guys in that second line, nobody really seems to be pushing the envelope too hard too early. I figured somebody would have wanted to go out front, kind of like what Boyer did, and kind of lead this race and kind of set the pace. But it seems like everybody's kind of in the mindset of, let's maybe ride this first stage out and kind of save our equipment.
Absolutely could not agree more. And you see that second group starting to get gathered on up a little bit. Reminder that the first stage is 21 laps along with that second stage. So still got a ways to go here in stage number 1. But for now, Jake Boyer up there in the lead and holding strong up there in that 0 car.
And as we say that, coming through the tri-oval, Alex Edelman with the push from Dalton Tucker actually led that lap. So I believe that'd be our first or second lead change of the night, and he's going to drop down in front of Boyer as they go into 1, which makes Dalton Tucker the leader of that second line.
Great little run here by the 25 of Edelman. He's going to slide in front of the 0, and Josh mentioned it up there at the top of the broadcast. You got to keep some air on the nose of these cars. So this is the first time that the 0 is stuck behind somebody. We'll see how that works out. And you see that second pack starting to pick up a little head of steam there as they get gathered on up, and this front pack starting to get a little more dicey. You see that top groove really starting to come in off of turn 4.
And it's ironic, I mentioned that TI racing team, and it's almost like they heard me because they kind of dropped to the back of that second pack. And now you got, Keegan Bitzer and Corey Wharton leading that second pack. But like you kind of just said, though, they're starting to make a push to this front pack now as they're kind of getting dicey. And now, again, you see Blade Timmons push Dalton to the front. So now Dalton Tucker gets a point for leading the lap. It's starting to pick up. We're only 10 laps in. We're still only halfway in this first stage.
Halfway in the first stage, and everyone's starting to shake things up. There goes Boyer to the bottom. He's going to take some speed off and head to the back of this first group. And you see it right there, the 0 car figuring it's getting dicey. Let's hang out in the back and let the things shake on out up there at the top. And you see guys from the top going to the bottom. Looks like the bottom groove is the place to be.
Actually, I was surprised Jake was staying up there, but I'm not surprised that he just, pulled that move. Like I said, he either likes to be leading or he'll kind of try and save his stuff just because he wants to be there at the end. So I was surprised he went to the front like that, but I'm not surprised that he fell back when they got in front of him. But it's interesting to see here because now you got 3 teammates of Timmons, Rapolo, and Edelman up front. And Dalton Tucker's kind of potentially could be the meat in the sandwich. We'll have to see what happens with that.
24 down on the bottom. He's going to get slid in front of by the 23 and the 90 as they drop down to the bottom groove. They'll now lead the race here, and up jumps the 62 up to the top. That's Defy It up on the top side, and you see drivers really getting a little antsy now.
It seems like that front pack lost a couple drivers, and a Boyer dropped back. From what I can see, it's actually about it, but it looks like it just thinned out a lot. Maybe they're not as, tight, drafting and stuff, but I know Susie fell to the back of this pack now. Donald found his way to the bottom. Like I said, you got the 3 teammates of Timmons, Rapolo, and Edelman right there on the bottom with Dalton Tucker. It still, like I said, halfway through the stage, but it seems like everybody's kind of starting to mellow out again and kind of get in line.
Rapolo thought about going to the middle, didn't have any help with him, so he hops back in line back behind Timmons in the 23. Timmons holding on to the lead, no push from the outside lane just yet, but don't be surprised if we see the 62 maybe push that white 7 car up toward the lead.
Yeah, I know he was having paint issues, but I actually just restarted trading paints before the race, and he's got a nice little Napa scheme going on there, but just talking about Brandon, though, this is his first race with us. I kind of figured, try and start recruiting, get some new guys in. Him and I believe it's Justin White. Yeah, Justin White. It's their first race, with us. Like I said, Donald with a rare appearance in the B Series. So, guys like Brandon, Donald, and Justin, they're here to prove a point. They want to go out and win their first race, and Brandon's doing what he can right now.
Brandon up there in the lead. Don't think he's quite got the 23 cleared. He thought about heading down to the bottom. Doesn't do it just yet. And now you're seeing this second line start to trek down the track in the corners, heading closer and closer to that bottom groove. Try and take a little air off the spoilers of the inside cars.
We've kind of been mentioning it the whole time so far. That bottom line kind of starting to mellow out, kind of give each other a little bit of room. Maybe not the top 3 necessarily or top 2 right now, but like I said, Susie dropped to the back of that pack. Jason Brewer and Sean Briscoe are kind of been riding, a couple tenths back, and then Keegan's still leading. Well, not even really the second pack. They've even kind of separated from everybody, but it's like that second pack's kind of just single file riding, and then, you basically just got the battle for the lead right now.
You get a good shot at it right there, looking down the back straightaway. The top 3 guys in that top line with the lead pack, and then really everyone single file down there on the bottom. Everyone just content to start running again. We saw a little bit of mixing on up through the middle of that stage, but as we head to the second half of this stage, starting to get single file racing once again.
I think now, if guys are, at this point, you have, I think, only 2 races after this, I believe, before the cut. At this point, for the guys that have showed up, which is pretty much the same guys weekly, they're kind of, setting the chase. At this point, you're just kind of racing for the extra playoff points. which, you know, at this point is either a stage win or a race win. So I think if anybody's going to go for that ever important playoff point, you might start seeing them make a move in the next couple laps.
Absolutely. That first stage break coming on lap 21. So we're counting it down. Going to be 6 to go here when we cross the stripe. The 23 and the 7, door to door at the start finish line. Timmons and Andrews mix it on up here at Daytona.
And the 62 of Nate DeFayette finally gave Brandon the push he needed to get to the front, and he led that lap. So now it'll be interesting to see as Brandon did drop down in front of Blade, but now you got the top with only 2 cars up there, as actually Nate dropped down as well. So, you know, now you're going to see, you know, will people go up maybe for them to try and get to the front? You know, will you see them kind of just get in line, which right now looks like Donald got back in line, but Blade looked getting a little dicey, like he was going to try and poke his nose under Nate.
A 00 kind of hung up there. That's Ryan Kendrick up on the outside. Here comes the 24, led by the 23. They're going to jump to the top side now.
It's getting heated up again. You know, you got, like I've been saying before, you got the 3 teammates: Blade Timmons, Trevor Roppolo, Alex Edelman. One went to the top. Now they're all up there. They got Ryan Kendrick in between them. You know, Ryan's going for a championship too. He wants to get up there and lead a lap, I'm sure. He wants to get these valuable stage points just to help him, you know, in the playoffs, get a better seating.
Absolutely. And like Josh mentioned, 2 races after this to really separate the men from the boys. Who's going to make that top 12? Darlington and Richmond up next. But a serious spot where you can take some points away here tonight at Daytona. 2x2 is ahead in 3 and 4. The number 7 machine of Brandon Andrews. He's holding on down at the bottom in that Napa scheme. But up on his outside, Blade Timmons going to try and lead this lap. Won't clear the 7th line. We'll see if he can do it heading towards 1.
Blade did get credit for leading that lap with a good push from Roppolo up top. But, you know, like I said, you got Ryan Kendrick right now 3rd on the outside line. Dalton Tucker 3rd on the inside line. They're your top 2 title guys right now. The next closest in this pack is Todd Slauson. Then you got to go all the way back to Corey Wharton. And actually, Colby Wells not making a push towards the front. So, like I said, you might see a couple of these title guys make a late push for some stage points. And here comes, like I said, Wharton and Wells.
So his front group, 2x2 for 3, maybe 4 cars here as we approach the end of stage number 1. Things going to get a little bit more mixed on up. You see further back as we look maybe towards Corey Wharton, Colby Wells, and further on back. The second groove kind of coming out, or the second pack kind of coming on in a little bit. They're trying to make their way back up towards the front, almost in that danger zone should something happen to that front pack.
Yeah, and like I said, I was looking at Wharton. He went from 14th to right in the stage points, sitting 10th right now. They're about a lap and a half away. Well, actually half a lap from getting the white flag on the stage. But once again, up front, Timmons and Roppolo now leading teammates, and Ryan Kendrick right there, 2nd on the outside line. You know, he's going to try and maybe do something to get a stage win and get that playoff point like we've been talking about.
The 2x2 really starting to heat on up. It's now 5, maybe 6 cars back. The number 7, he's going to look to the outside here and try and get a little air under that nose. Not going to do anything with it just yet. Number 90 of Rapallo out there on the outside, trying to get a push from the 00. We'll see if he can.
And then another one that I've said, you know, I wasn't surprised he dropped to the back, but yet again, late in the stage, his whole team of Fireball right there together. Boyer, Powell, Susie's now in the middle of all of them, and then Martin Plute all right there just outside the stage points, even though they're going for owners points, so they don't really get stage points, but you know, they're making that late push. Right now, it looks like 10th would be between Colby and Corey, if I'm not mistaken, but going into 3, his teammates still side by side up front.
Going to be a good race to the line here for the stage. Timmons on the bottom, and he's got to fend off the 90 and the 00 up on the top side. Good push from the 7 right there. As Timmons going to go up, down to the bottom goes the 20. He's going to try and save it through the grass. And stage number 1 going to go to Blade Timmons in the 23 car.
From my scoring, I'll have to go back and check it post-race, but from my scoring, Corey actually lost out on stage points there. I don't actually know what happened, but yeah, I don't know if there's a checkup or what, but from what I could see from the scoring, he lost out on some stage points there.
Taking another look at it here, the number 20 with a good run up in the top side. And you see just a little bit of checkup. The 20 has to dive out of the way. And Corey Wharton going to miss out on stage points, like Josh just mentioned. After that, keeps the car clean, however, as we're under yellow for the first time here today for our first stage break.
It's, I don't know. He's saying, I guess, from what I'm hearing over the scanners, I guess the outside line checked up, kind of like they just dropped down. But from what, like I said, from what I'm seeing on the scoring, Colby Wells got that last, stage point, which, it's not a playoff point, so it's not really going to help him, come playoff time. But even regular points, just from finish or even stage points, if it can move you up in the overall standings to help get, a bonus point that way. Any type of point right now is valuable.
Absolutely. A lot of guys all chunked on in, really places 10 through 15, 16, 17. So any point you can get to push yourself further into that top 12, so paramount with 2 races to go here in the regular season. So top 10 as they finished in that stage, Timmons takes first, Andrews in second, the number 90 of Trevor Apollo in third, Ryan Kendrick in fourth, Nate DeFayette in fifth, Dalton Tucker in sixth, Alexander Edelman pulls away seventh, Todd Slauson eighth, Donald Ecker in ninth, and Colby Wells sneaking on in there at 10th, as here comes everyone down pit road.
One thing, you may not have even noticed it, but when you're on pit road, we have a rule of trying to stay, as far right as possible, just so nobody's, out of line and whatnot, and makes it harder for guys to get in. It looks like Edelman actually missed his box, and we also have a rule, to limit the stalls coming in and out. But with that, it looks like Ryan Kendrick took fuel only. It looks like Donald Etcher fuel only. I think it's Colby Wells coming out fuel only. So you're already seeing the strategy with only 3 tires. Guys maybe going for track position, trying to get, ahead of the curve, as we'll call it.
Absolutely. And Daytona, a track that you can definitely do that. You can run the same tires really all race long, quite possibly, as we take a look at the weather here in Daytona Beach, Florida. Only 84 degrees on the track, so you're probably able to run those tires a bit longer than you might. And the tires not as paramount as they would be at, say, a mile and a half or even a short track. And like Josh mentioned, only 3 sets. We're going to have 2 stage cautions plus anything else. And stage 3 a bit longer than the first 2. So we will have most likely a pit stop there in stage 3.
I know, like I said, I was getting about 35 laps, 35 and a half or so. But obviously, again, that can all change. If you're leading the pack, you're wide open, whereas you're, maybe not even last in the pack, but just say second. You're going to play with that throttle. You're going to, obviously save some more gas. So that number could obviously change just depending on where you're at. I'm actually going to go back real quick before we go green and try and get this stage sorted out, the stage finish. So I'll let you cover this caution for a little bit, and I'll be back.
Absolutely. So great to hear from Josh here tonight, the founder and owner of the NORAB series. And good thing they got going on. Like we mentioned, the field sizes have been hit and miss at times, but a lot of guys showing up here for Daytona, and you'd love to see that, especially at a plate track like this where we're going to have action all night long. Brought to you here by the NORAB series. So through stage number 1, we've already seen quite a bit of action here. As we get set to go green once again. A couple guys selecting to go no tires, and that's pay attention to that. We'll keep you abreast of it as well. But the top 3, we're going to take this green flag. Gas only, or maybe 2 tires there with 6 and 8 second stops. So hard to say, but Kendrick, Etcher, we're going to butcher names the whole night long apparently, and Wells, your top 3, all not on 4 tires. Everyone else 4 tires and fuel. Dalton Tucker a 20.3 second stop. So maybe a little bit of damage to that 24 machine that we didn't know about got fixed on up on pit lane. So we're going to get set to go green here once again. And it's a 00 of Kendrick, going to be the control car for this restart. Green flag in the air, and we're racing here in stage 2. Colby Wells with a huge push there at the front. And they're going to sneak on by. 2 cars clear. The number 90 almost clear, as they're going to jump to the top here. And Wells is going to try and push his nose out to the lead.
I actually forgot they were shorter cautions. I had just finished getting the stage jotted down. They were coming back to green. Wow, fast pace. No, but Colby Wells with the push from Rapolo now looking to lead a lap, as Ryan Kendrick already got his bonus point, obviously for leading him coming to the green. But once again, though, as you look mid-pack, Brian Powell with the Fireball Racing Team dropping to the back, and they're wrecking up front.
Big wreck up front. Colby Wells involved, and everyone else involved as well. We're going to have to go take another look at that. You see a bunch of carnage on the inside. And like we mentioned, not having that fast repair going to be tough on a lot of these drivers. Let's take another look at what just happened. So we head down the back straightaway. Pay attention to the 45 of Colby Wells here. Up there in the top spot. Just gets turned into that outside retaining wall. And then everyone fans out. Nowhere to go for a lot of these guys. That's the one of Ecker gets involved. You see the 95 slide on through. The 24 involved as well. So some big names involved in this one. And we'll have to see how this one shakes the field on out.
Well, I just noticed too, kind of looking just, at some of the guys that went through the grass. Dalton Tucker got some front end damage from that.
So as we ride along with the 45 of Colby Wells, you'll get a good look at what he just saw after this one on the nose. And he gets up and around into that outside retaining wall. The 29 going to sneak on by. That's Chad Engel. Good little ride for him. And the 95 gets sent. That's Blitzer into the inside retaining wall. Looks like the 4 involved possibly as well. A lot of drivers involved in this one. So back under yellow.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Josh.
No, like I said, I was kind of just looking at guys that may have gotten involved, like just trying to miss it maybe. And I know Dalton was in the grass trying to miss it, and he got together with Keegan. I know they're on pit road, probably getting that damage fixed, but it's going to make it tough the rest of the night already.
Absolutely. Even with a little bit of damage, the car just going to fall on off just a bit. And we don't know if that's just aerodynamic damage, but iRacing does also model engine damage. And if you have that, your night is pretty much done, as you're just not able to produce the RPMs, not able to produce that speed that you're going to need to keep up with the pack. You might be able to hang on in the backside. But a lot of the guys heading down pit road trying to get those cars fixed up. Some of the drivers on pit lane. Trevor Rapolo in the 90, Drayton Cook in the 89, Keegan Blitzer in the 95, Colby Wells in the 45, and Donald Ecker in the 1, all on pit lane getting that car fixed on up.
I noticed too, Dalton, as I was kind of watching pit road, just for our little tedious rules for say, I noticed he didn't really stay to get much damage fixed. He's already back out on the track, and maybe he doesn't want to be that last car in line and risk losing that draft.
Absolutely, and you said it right there. If you're that back car, you don't have anyone on your rear bumper able to push that car maybe just a little bit faster than it normally would be able to go. You'll see that rear its ugly head further and further throughout the race here tonight, as we should get the 1 to go here. Big crowd out on hand here at Virtual Daytona Speedway for the NORAB Series at Daytona. Like we mentioned, 2 races after this before the playoffs start. Round of 12, not round of 16, round of 12. So Darlington and Richmond separate us, and kind of a cool 3 races. We go from a super speedway to a very tough oval to a short track all in a matter of 3 weeks, and that's going to provide some very exciting racing in the next couple weeks.
I know. I'm just excited for the throwback night. That was always my favorite night. I know the Truck Series. We just started our playoffs, and obviously we don't run Darlington because we follow the original schedules. So we did Gateway as our throwback night, and I know there was some good schemes. I always like, seeing the throwbacks and seeing what some of these painters can do, especially with the way we do it, with our own sponsors and stuff. So you might see a Jeff Gordon throwback, but if somebody doesn't have a Jeff Gordon sponsor, they could have Nationwide, and it's just cool seeing the combos.
Absolutely. We did mention at the top of the broadcast just such cool paint schemes that we see throughout this entire field. And that is a credit to the drivers and to the painters that they have working for them here. And very cool thing that they got going on. Like Josh mentioned, putting their sponsors on it. So you might see kind of a car that just looks different for some reason. You look at the 24, he's got the Exalta on that paint scheme, but it's a Toyota Supra. So even stuff like that, very fun to look at. And the 24, as we look at them now, a bit of damage to the front end of that machine. We'll see how Dalton Tucker's able to hang on the rest of the way.
And I know, obviously, like we were saying, a couple guys got some damage, but that really wasn't even a quote-unquote big one. I'm sure there's still a bigger one yet to come, but we're coming back to green.
So pace car going to take that hard left-hand turn onto pit lane. Ryan Kendrick in the 00 going to be your control car, and we are back green here at Daytona. Slauson with a good jump on the outside, but Timmons going to go door-to-door with them. Engel going to try and push it, thinks about going 3 wide, thinks better of it, and settles back in line heading into turn 1. They're 2x2 through turns 1 and 2. No one jumping out to that third line just yet. And we'll see if anyone dives to the bottom, maybe settles back toward the back. And it looks like we get a couple takers here in stage 2. That's the 23 all over the rear bumper of the 00 down the back straightaway.
Sorry, I wasn't even paying attention. I had something brought up to me in server that I was trying to figure out. But you got to wonder now with that wreck, are they going to calm down a little bit? Or are you still going to see the same intensity of just, pushing hard?
Absolutely. We talk about the idea of cautions, breeding cautions. You see that a lot at 1.5-mile type speedways where tires matter so much. Once you get a caution, you get a fresh set of Goodyear Eagles on the car. You're able to push it a little bit harder. Might be a little bit different here, but as we see the field start to expand a little bit, if we get gathered on up again, we might see some aggressive racing. And a little bit of issue there at the front for the 23. He gets settled on under. And the 00 and the 62 going to work on the bottom.
I know Blade just scared a bunch of guys up front. He blinked out, and I know it scared them. It seemed like that front pack got scattered real quick. One guy we were talking about, though, in that wreck, Dalton Tucker, he came down. It didn't seem like he got a lot of damage fixed. He's pushed right up to this main pack. He's, hanging on right now. I think if he can stay in that main pack and kind of have somebody behind him that doesn't have damage, he'll be all right. One guy that doesn't really need the points. I think he's pretty much just about locked in, just on points in the season. But Chad Engel, he's looking to grab a win tonight. I know I talked to him earlier. He's wanting some help from Dalton and his other teammates tonight to try and grab a win for the chase.
Absolutely, and really racing up there at the front of the pack. Slauson up and down. Pushing the 62 up there at the front, and a name we haven't called a lot tonight, Corey Wharton, has made his way into the top 3. Corey Wharton, one of the drivers who's won his fair share of races here, and we constantly see him up there at the front of the pack. Good to see him back there again here at a super speedway.
He's definitely proven to be, one of the top guys. And that's the thing about super speedways. It brings out a chance for everybody to run up front and everybody, to grab that win they might need.
A lot of points on the line as well. This top pack not giving an inch. They're all mixing up. 23, a little bit of damage on the hood of that car, so pay attention if Blade Timmons can stay up front. Looks like he's doing a pretty good job of it. So is the 24 of Dalton Tucker. So both those drivers, a little bit of damage to their cars, but they're still doing the most with it as the 62 takes over the top spot.
everybody's getting a little sensitive here in the main pack. You got some chatter going on. I guess some moves are being made that are a little questionable to others, a little early, but you got to get what you can. I mean, if you maybe haven't led a lap yet and gotten that point, you might want to secure that, or maybe you're more comfortable leading the race, or running fourth or something. So I mean, it's still a long way to go, and tempers are already starting to heat up I think the lights just actually switched on.
We're going to race into the night here at Daytona. You can see the sun causing a little bit of trouble for our camera crew here. As Corey Wharton now sliding into that second spot. The 24 might get shuffled out of line here. He slides back on in. And up on the top side, we got Slauson and Kendrick trying to work together.
Yeah, I was riding along in the blimp because it would give me a nice view, and it almost seems like it's a little foggy as the lights came on. I'm having trouble seeing them 3 and 4 depending on where the blimp's at. But one of the guys that was involved in that wreck, I guess you could say he was the main one of the wreck, Colby Wells, lost the draft, and the field's about half a lap behind him. So I'm sure he's praying for the stage to end and he can kind of hopefully stay on the lead lap. But they're coming quick.
And you see the rest of the field kind of single file chasing down that lead pack. Not able to do it just yet. Everyone else kind of holding on out, and we'll see if that continues to be how this race is going to unfold, especially as we head towards stage 3 here in a jiffy.
Notice, we've been talking kind of in the beginning and sort of all race about, the owner's points guys versus the title guys. Right now, I guess you could say even in the top 6, it's all title guys pretty much. Nate's the only owner's points guy besides Blade in 7th, but, you got Corey, Todd, Dalton, Ryan, and Chad all right there, trying to get all the points they can. I know Corey and Dalton have kind of sparked a little rivalry here after last week. There's a little bit of a situation, we'll call it, but for right now, anyway, they're all minding their P's and Q's.
So we will see if that comes back to haunt anybody. Maybe we see someone not lift off the accelerator, not give someone else a little bit of room. Still early in this race, not quite halfway just yet. We'll approach that mark as we reach stage number 2's completion and into stage number 3. And you also start to think about all those guys that did go and get their cars fixed on up, probably took tires as well. Josh mentioned it, only 3 sets of Goodyear Eagles for these teams here tonight.
Which, typically, you don't really think of, needing the tires per se, but that's one of those things from that final stage. If it happens to work out to where you get a green flag stop, if you're going to fill it full of fuel, we run 85% fuel loads. So it's not going to take as long as it normally would. So do you risk it and, take the 4 tires, but you might be sitting there for the tires, or do you maybe do 2 and try and time it with the fuel? It definitely plays into the strategy. I'm surprised actually Ryan and Todd haven't been able to push past Nate and Corey here to, kind of clear and get the lead. But I know one thing too, I mentioned Colby, who's just right now a sitting duck and is going to get lapped here in probably a matter of seconds. But the only thing really working in his favor is he would be the only car a lap down right now as we approach the end of stage 2. Stage 2.
Wells up there at the top, going to be our first car put a lap down as the leader sneak by him. No issues right there. The leader sneaking past the 45, and Todd Slauson slides to the bottom, and it looks like he's going to take the top spot here and kind of hangs the 0-0 of Kendrick out to dry up there on the top.
As I'm hearing right now, I think Ryan was saying he was getting hot as Todd dropped down, but as I've been saying kind of all night, I was saying 3 before, and now it's just kind of the 2 amigos, but Blade Timmons and Alex Edelman once again hooked up behind Ryan. So I would expect Blade and Alex maybe here as we wind down this stage, maybe push Ryan up front, and then, them 2 themselves probably end up at the front.
Absolutely, and it is tight. No room to maneuver up here at the top spot, and we'll see as we approach that lap 42 mark if anyone tries to make a move. We haven't seen anyone fully send it 3 wide just yet, but that move is definitely coming before the end of this one.
I'll tell you what, I'm still on the blimp, and I am amazed. I guess it's the angle of the sun or something, but it's like I said, it's like fog rolled in. I can't see anything from up here, but they go into 3 and 4. It's just, like I said, it's like fog almost. It's kind of mesmerizing me, but it seems like, Nate's kind of found the balance, and even Corey, when Nate was leading, of kind of cooling that car off, maybe, still pushing aggressive enough, but not enough to maybe overheat. And like I said, you see it right now with Nate, as Todd's been able to hold off Ryan, and now Corey jumps the second line to get in front of Ryan and maybe try and grab the lead here and win this stage.
Big run for Corey Wharton up there on the top spot, but the 22 and the 62 stay locked on up. He's going to need some help from Kendrick if he's going to push past on the top side. The 23 deciding, does he want to stay on the bottom or head back to the top? And the 62, here he goes. Might be our first 3 wide of the night at the start-finish line.
The battle is getting heated here in the front. Like you said, first 3 wide maneuver. And I'm actually surprised, Keegan Bitts are leading that second pack. They're 3 seconds back right now. That's the furthest we've seen that second pack kind of hang back. Because right now, your lead pack is just 10 cars. Brandon Andrews right up front all night. I think he had a little bit of damage from that wreck. He's back in 12th. Trevor Roppolo, 13th. Matthew George, I think he got a little damage. He's 14th. So right now, your lead pack is basically all your guys competing for stage points. I think it's probably split right now, half and half, as far as championship guys and owners points guys. But we're coming to the white flag. It's Lawson, the push from Dalton Tucker back out front.
Absolutely. And what's so great about these stage breaks, getting get a chance to fix that car on up even more and have a pretty good car heading into stage number 3 as we're in the final lap of stage number 2. Slauson holding on to the lead. And we'll see if anyone else makes a maneuver as they head back into 1 and 2.
And kind of like I had mentioned, though, if Dalton could stay in the pack, he might be okay. And he's kind of showing, he might be overheating a little bit, so he might not be able to push as long. And like I kind of said pre-race, you could only get about a lap, maybe 3/4 right behind somebody. And you might be seeing it now. You can't really get to the back of Slauson as Ryan's pushing Nate back to the lead as they're coming to the checkered flag for the stage.
62 and the 22, door to door. Everyone pushing for that stage win, coming off of turn 4. We'll see if everyone behaves. Looks like Nate has a half car length coming through the tri-oval. It's Slauson to fight at the line, and it looks like the scoring monitor is going to give it to Slauson. Going to be your stage 2 winner here at Daytona, and what a finish of the stage that was.
And I hate to say it, because he drives for me, but you almost got to wonder if Dalton's thinking big picture there. He's got a championship guy in front of him that he's pushing, and you got Nate who's just going for owner's points, leading that second line. Maybe Dalton played a little game to, save the Todd from getting a playoff point. Maybe backed off a little bit coming to the checkered there.
Absolutely, and that's something you get in these super speedways is a kind of gamesmanship. Drivers working with other guys that they want to succeed. Maybe drivers working with their manufacturer that they want to succeed as well. And you'll see that probably definitely play out here in stage number 3. We saw it right there at the end of stage number 2. And that's definitely not the end of it as we get set to lock and load for one more time here at Daytona. Curious if we've seen the last yellow flag here in this stage break.
As a league owner, I want to say, yeah, you're done with cautions, but it's Daytona. It's iRacing. It's online. You never know what's going to happen.
Absolutely. And the field going to get gathered on up here. Through 2 stages, we've met the halfway point of the race. We've seen a couple different strategies. We've seen everyone in the top 10 really just kind of hang out there. We've seen 2x2 action, and that is about it in terms of drivers trying to send it 2 and 3 wide. We haven't seen anyone really go 3 wide outside of right at the end of that stage. Then I'll be curious to see if those drivers in the back, maybe they make some strategy here on pit lane, or if they just naturally drift in that back waiting for the big one. Josh talked about it earlier. We did have one accident, but it wasn't really that quote-unquote big one that crashed with 15 or so cars. We'll see if that one's still coming up here at Daytona.
We're now officially halfway, so took it under caution, but kind of the same thing as for stage 1. If you didn't take tires then, do you take them now? We'll kind of see what happens here as guys are getting in their box. Looks like I think it's Chad Engel back there missed his stall, maybe slid through a little bit. Looks like Nate took maybe fuel only or 2 tires. Looks like Susie missed his box. Corey's already away, so he took fuel. And looks like everybody else is taking tires besides Nate and Corey.
So iRacing does not model each individual pit crews, so you see the cars getting jacked up on right and left sides individually, and so you can tell how many tires they're taking. It looks like the top 3 going no tires or 2 tires. Everyone else going to go 4 and fuel. And that's going to set up our stage 3 finish coming to you here shortly. Josh Susi coming off of pit lane in that number 81. He's going to be your leader here. And jumped on up from further back in the pack. Good job for him, as I actually don't have him making a pit stop that time by.
Yeah, I think you drove through. He might have missed his box. I was I kind of saw that. I know he qualified for us. So he's near the front, and I don't think he ever stopped. But so he'll probably come down here.
There he will go. So Susi going to turn the lead on over. Looks like it should be the 62, followed by the 22. So a couple guys you saw up there at the top. Going to stay at the top here as we get set to go in stage number 3.
So like a couple guys are coming in to top off too. Maybe get some damage, or maybe some damage, or like I just said, maybe topping off. Because the less time you can spend on pit road there at the end will help you definitely, that last little run.
Josh mentioned the pit window somewhere around 35 laps. This final stage going to be right around 40. So maybe they find a little extra fuel that they might have not been able to get had they not gone down pit road right there. We'll see who can make it if anyone tries to stay out. You see the drivers coming off of pit road right there. A couple guys might be thinking that they're going to stretch it.
It's possible. I mean, like I said, I know you can't make it from here, but if you save enough and maybe ride at the end of the pack or something, you might be able to. But
so we'll see a couple of different strategies here as it looks like we'll get set to go green. You see a bunch of drivers coming off of pit lane just now. We still have 22 cars on the lead lap, and most notably Colby Wells getting that lucky dog and getting back on the lead lap as we get set to go green here at Daytona once again. Slauson and Defiant, 1 and 2. The 62 in charge of this restart, and he gets a good jump. And you know who else does? The 24 of Dalton Tucker. He slides right in behind. He might even sneak past Slauson here out on the outside. Didn't get as good of a jump. Really, that whole front pack starts to single filing out pretty quickly. And out toward the outside jumps Blade Timmons. See if he gets any help up there on the top side.
I have to review something real quick, so I'm going to let you take over for a second.
Josh Conover doing double duty here tonight as the admin, race control, and commentator, looking at a little bit of restart to see if anyone changed lanes on the restart. That is one of the rules of the NORA B series, so we'll wait and see on that one. And as we wait, Todd Slauson up to the top side. He's got a little help from Edelman right behind him, and he's got Timmons behind him. Down there on the bottom, watch out, it's the 24th Tucker back to the top spot on the bottom. Slauson gonna clear and head back to the bottom.
So it was actually miscommunication. We're good. I thought there might have been a lane change where somebody was just calling out that they were catching the field, but it's a workout doing it. Basically all the behind the scenes work, trying out the broadcasting perspective. It's fun though. I'm having a good time. It's been a good race so far. Hopefully the boys put on a good finish for us.
Absolutely, and hope you guys are enjoying it at home watching. Saw some cheers for the 62. He's all the way up to third and leading that top groove now, so we'll see if he can bring it on home here. And we see that front group starting to make shape. We'll see if that back group starts to catch on up or if they're content hanging out back there in the back. We'll see after this one as they head back to the start-finish line.
I'm sure if you're going to see moves, it's going to happen now because, I mean, if you came and topped off, you can obviously stretch it a little bit more. If you didn't, you might have to save a little bit. But, a couple names we hadn't really mentioned all night, sitting there, now third on the inside line, Jason Brewer. Right behind him, Keegan Bitzer. And then obviously, you have your usuals, Blade, Ryan, Jake Boyer, though, climbing back towards the front. Chad Engel, Brandon Andrews kind of still right there. You're going to start seeing some, names that may have been riding around in the back all night start coming towards the front slowly but surely.
Brewer and Bitzer, the 4 and the 95, both involved in that Colby Wells incident back there in stage number 2. But they're making their way back toward the front, and really, you see, able to kind of mitigate any damage they might have. You see a little bit of damage to the back end of that 4 machine, maybe a wrinkle on the hood of the 95. Both those drivers hanging out in the pack, and pack's starting to whittle on down. The top 5 all gathered on together, and back further than them, all single file down the back straightaway.
Which you might start to see. I mean, like I said, besides maybe, a couple guys wanting to maybe lead the race and kind of set their own pace, you might see, some guys just get single file, maybe try and save fuel, try and stretch it, turn it into a fuel mileage race. You might, but, like Nate and Alex and Jason Brewer just jumped up there. They might just try and go for it, try and get to the front knowing that they can't make it and they maybe won't be able to save it. They might just try and push for the front and, like I said, control the race and set their own pace.
Absolutely, and you really start to think about these strategies that are shaping out for us. We have one group of cars that's trying to jump out toward the front and hang on as best as they can. We have another group of cars that's kind of hanging back, maybe trying to avoid an incident, maybe hoping for a yellow, because then suddenly they're good on fuel. And we'll wait and see if we get that or if we run green all the rest of the way.
Which I actually didn't check, but I was making the comments about the fog. I'm showing 98% humidity right now. Is that what you're getting to?
And it does look correct, yes.
So it could actually be some fog. I thought it was lower than that, but regardless, just some things that I pick up. But like just the track temp too hasn't really cooled off. The air temp's gone down a little bit, and I think the track temps kind of stayed the same. So you really, besides more rubber getting laid down, you kind of got what you got. I mean, I know setup really isn't as big of a factor here as it would be at, say, like a Dover or, a Richmond or a mile and a half, but it, in a way too, it kind of makes those bold moves that you would make, maybe a little bit easier if the track cools down, or, you get more rubber laid down. You can kind of move back and forth in the lines, maybe late in the race for trying to throw blocks. But right now it seems like from about Ryan Kendrick on back, they're content just riding, maybe saving fuel, maybe hoping, maybe even praying, that front pack starts wadding some cars up, and we'll see what happens. I know right now I like right where Ryan Kendrick and, Jake Boyer and even Chad Engel and them guys are kind of sitting.
Absolutely. So those front packs still riding 2x2. Wait and see if anyone gets a little antsy, wants to send it 3 wide. Not yet 30 to go. We're quickly approaching that mark. Slauson on the bottom and the 62 up on the top. Still your leader. And the rest of the pack, like Josh said, single file the rest of the way. Big move right there. 62 comes down. Wasn't quite clear yet. Gets cleared, and now the 25 of Edelman going to sneak by.
And I'm sure I sound like a broken record, but once again, Timmons and Edelman hooked up, going to the front. Now you got Corey Wharton right behind them. I'm hearing already some pit strategy. Chad Engel was just saying that he was changing some pit road stuff, maybe taking no tires and just a splash of gas, maybe doing just rights, just lefts. You never know, but it seems like the strategy is already being tossed around between the teams and guys that are working together.
Absolutely, and something to really start thinking about. Did these drivers practice green flag pit stops here at a super speedway like Daytona? So hard to get throttled on down, and you can gain and lose so many positions on that pit road entry. And also, you have to go with people. You can't go by yourself. You got to go with someone else, at least one drafting buddy. And like Josh said, teams trying to communicate that, figure out who's going when, who you can go with, who you want to go with. We'll see if anyone does try to stretch it all the way.
Well, and it's almost kind of like real life in an instance too. We got, we do, teams and all that kind of stuff, and we got the satellite teams. You might have one main team. Like I know, for instance, my quote-unquote team, Flatline Motorsports. We got Keegan Bitzer in the 95 tonight. We got our usuals, Dalton Tucker, Matthew George, and Chad Engel. That's our main team, but I know if we talk about the Fireball guys, Boyer, Powell, Plute, Susie, they're a satellite team. Yeah, they're in a Chevy, but, we all kind of work together, share some information and whatnot. And then we have the 2 new guys, Justin White and then Brandon Andrews. They're on another satellite team. So we have, at this point, basically half the field kind of all, working together in a satellite team. So I'm sure they can work something out, but it's coming down to the end. You're talking about you're going to need buddies and you have to come down, with somebody. I would say if you're any of the names that I just listed, you're going to have plenty of help and plenty of company just from, having that satellite team and, manufacturing stuff to work with, to where, for instance, I know Ryan Kendrick, Todd Slauson, they're independents. They're not on a team. They're kind of just running for a title as an independent. Nate DeFayette, he's on a team, but he's a solo guy tonight. He's the only one from his team, Imperial Motorsports, that showed up tonight. And like I've been saying, Edelman and Timmons, they're teammates. Corey Wharton, he's on a team, but he's the only guy from his camp that showed up. Briscoe and Jason Brewer, Sayan Motorsports, they're on a team, but they're just the 2 of them. So it's whenever you decide to come down, whether you wait and run out as much as you can, or you pit as soon as your window opens, you're going to need help. And there's, like I said, as far as my 3, I'll just say big satellite group is concerned, there's plenty of help there. But guys like I just mentioned that maybe are by themselves or an independent, it's going to be even tougher.
Absolutely. And as we start to see this front really 6 or 7 try to break away, Brewer and Briscoe holding on to the tail end of this pack. And Sean Briscoe, someone we haven't mentioned tonight, definitely pay attention as the race goes on. He won at Road America 3 weeks ago, so he's definitely looking for a couple good finishes as well. And it looks like they're going to catch this lead group. And Todd Slauson back to the top spot.
And you almost got to wonder if they're thinking about pitting early, because it seems like besides Corey right now, up in that second line, you got the top, I believe, 8 right here. Well, I say single file, and then Nate says he's got to breathe for some air, but you got the top 8 right here, kind of somewhat worse single file. And then, again, you're kind of back a little bit to the next pack of 4 with Keegan Bitzer leading. And then it's, it's a little bit ways back again to where Brandon Andrews leading that big second, pack right there. So coming down, we got, I believe, 28 to go this time by. It's, you got to think, pit stops might be right around the corner.
Absolutely. And you really start thinking about, like Josh said, do you want to pit now? Do you want to stretch it as long as it'll go? Maybe hope for some kind of yellow? Or do you want to pit early and then get right back to work? A lot of different strategies to play out here. I would imagine at this point, if we see green flag pit stops, much will be gas and go. I'd be shocked if we see anybody take tires at this stage in the race. But stay tuned. Someone might decide otherwise, that they need just enough fuel that maybe the tires are worth it.
And we were just talking about how the packs were kind of separated. There's a little pack of 4 and then that big second pack. That second pack caught that pack of 4 because Keegan has some nose damage still from when him and Dalton got together trying to miss that first wreck, or the only wreck, I guess. Boyer, made the executive call. He goes, hey, he's got damage. Let me get out front. So, they kind of are starting to get sorted out, but now they're side by side, but they're still losing ground of the lead pack. I know they just went from like 3.8 seconds, and they basically lost a full second. They're back to 4.7 now. So if I was in their position, I would want to pit before that front pack. That way you can hopefully, like we kind of were talking about, get a decent amount of you guys down pit road and get sorted together and hook up and go. That way you're already up to speed when they pit, and you can hopefully try and gain that time back that you're losing right now.
Absolutely. So watching this second pack, they're pushing pretty hard. You're looking at Andrews in the 7. And he's got Boyer in the 0 right in front of him. They're trying to make up some ground. It's a pretty big pack, so stay tuned if things start to shuffle on out to them. Back toward your front, DeFayette up there next to Slauson. And it's really a 4-car breakaway up here at the top.
I'm kind of keeping an eye on this backpack because they are side by side right now still. They gained another, well, actually not another, but they gained 7/10. They're back just about 4 seconds from Boyer to Briscoe, who's at the back of that first pack. It, they can definitely catch them. It's something I wanted to kind of touch on too. There's a 6-mile-an-hour crosswind coming from, behind the backstretch blowing across the track. And I know in practice, a couple guys were saying even on somewhat newer tires, if somebody was on your left rear and just took the air off, either coming off of 4 or, in the tri-oval, it kind of wanted to step out a little bit. So you got to wonder if you haven't taken tires all night, or maybe you took tires on the first stop and haven't since then. Is that, loose condition going to get worse as the race goes on, especially if you don't take tires on this green flag pit stop if it comes?
Like we mentioned as well, the track's staying pretty solid at 83 degrees, so it's not cooling off as much as maybe we'd expect throughout the night. So that extra grip you might get from a lower temperature, not going to help you out just yet as well. So pay attention through the tri-oval and off of 4 like Josh mentioned. Drivers know that. Drivers might try to employ that as the race goes on. And it looks like Brewer and Briscoe have caught this top pack, but pay attention to that second pack led by Jake Boyer as they're trying to close in off of turn 4.
Which, kind of going back to our openers at Daytona, I know myself and Susie were going for truck points. We were almost in kind of the same situation. We were leading the second pack because there was an incident that didn't cause a caution, so we checked up, lost the pack, and we timed it to where as soon as we caught that main draft, so we wouldn't have to check up and lose any time, we pitted. So, if Susie remembers that, or even Jake, because he was there as well, they gained another, looks like about 3/10 that lap. Do they maybe do the same thing? Do they try and push, catch that lead draft, and as soon as they do, maybe hop in and pit? I thought they were kind of sorting out the pit kind of early. It seems like I'm wrong with that, but it seems like up front, going real quick, like Dalton's kind of been tucked, from what I've seen, right up on Todd, as Todd going up to block Corey. First big block of the race, it seems like.
Front of the pack starting to get a little bit juicy up here. You saw Slauson cut the nose off of the 20, cut the air off of that Toyota Supra as quick as can be, and hops right back down where he's able to get in front of Tucker. Tucker holding on with that damaged machine. The number 20 and the 62 up on the top side, not able to make a run just yet, but you see them nose to tail. Got to imagine the 62's got to peek out for air a little bit, cool that engine off. Pay attention to that second pack. Jake Boyer still closing on in.
Looking at lap times right now, there's some guys in that lead pack that hit a 48.0, maybe a 48.1, but as far as your lead cars are concerned, Slauson 48.21, Boyer 48.20. So seems like a couple guys in the pack are, getting the drafts and playing it right and hitting low 48s. But like I said, though, your 2 lead cars right now seem to be kind of even. I know that second pack didn't gain too much last time. This last lap, they actually lost 4/10, so it seems like it's maybe starting to stable out, or they may even be losing ground to that front pack.
Still about 3 seconds back. They got some work to do, and we heard it mentioned. When do you pit? Maybe you pit earlier than the front pack. Maybe you pit 1 lap later. I would imagine they try and pit 1 lap earlier, as then you get up to speed and get caught back on up, usually as quick as can be. But definitely once you see guys start pitting, you got to bring that car down pit road, and we'll see how everyone's played this out. If we see it soon, or if maybe we see it closer with 10 to go.
I noticed that last lap when I said they lost all that ground. I know Todd was once again a 48.2, and Boyer was, I think, a 42.8. And they, it looks like they lost another 0.2. Now it's back up to 4 seconds. Slauson again, a 48.3. Looking at everybody in that first pack, right around, low 3s to high 2s. And once again, Boyer, 48.6. So you would think, being single file like they were, they'd be gaining more time, but it almost seems like they were faster side by side than they are single file.
We've also seen guys work the top, work the bottom. So far, so good for really all the drivers. We haven't really seen the top be that aggressive top line yet. And we heard it mentioned at the top of the broadcast by Josh, like the top line, if you want to be really quick off the corner, you got to bring it on down, take a little bit of the air off the side of that inside line. And we haven't seen anyone aggressively do that yet. I'm curious if it's coming as we see Wharton start to drift down the track a little bit with 20 to go. Maybe with closer to 10, he's thinking about sticking his nose closer to that rear spoiler of the 22.
And I've been saying it the past couple laps, once again, that front pack, low 48s. Lawson was a 48.3 as Corey now slots down in front of him and will take the lead. But again, Boyer 48.6. Another half a second, 0.6 lost. Like I said, you would think it wouldn't be that way, but it seems like when they were side by side for a couple rows, when Susie and them guys were coming up, they were faster. We'll see this time by if it gets even further. It does. Another 0.3, 4.9 seconds now. Another 48.8 for Boyer. Then you go back up front. A couple guys 48.5, 48.4, but again, Corey Wharton though 48.4. So you would think single file would be better, but right now it seems like when they were side by side battling, they were faster.
Interesting enough, you're riding along with Jake Boyer here, and you see the gap up the leaders. Still a pretty hefty one. You got to imagine the second group searching for maybe a yellow flag, or maybe just some kind of push that they need. Could be hoping for any lap traffic, but don't think we're going to see any of that before this race is said and over.
And like I said, just looking at my pit road camera to make sure they're all to the right. That's one of our rules, like I had mentioned. It seems like all those satellite guys that I had mentioned all just came in together.
Very busy on pit lane right now. Slauson, Wharton, DeFayette, Timmons, Edelman, your top 5 after that. It looks like the top 7 all staying out. I'd imagine we see them on this lap.
And it's actually kind of funny. I mentioned it, having all those satellite guys to work together. Sure enough, I just saw it when they came off pit road. All 10 of the guys that I saw came down together. And it looked like either Edelman or Timmons locked up coming to pit road.
So both those drivers coming to pit lane. The top 5 still staying out. Slauson, Wharton, DeFayette, Brewer, and Briscoe all staying out. Looks like Ryan Kendrick also going to stay out as well, as we're seeing a bunch of different pit strategies start to play themselves out.
And here's what I'm curious about. It looked like Edelman got out of his stall way better than Timmons, and he actually gapped Blade coming in. And here comes the 10 satellite guys that I talked about. The front looks like 7 or so are kind of grouped together. Boyer leading still again. Bitzer kind of dropped to the back of it, and they actually had the leaders coming up on them, and we have a yellow.
Caution out, and we're trying to find what for. And the 22 of Slauson gets up into the 5. We're going to have to take a peek and see what that was about. Maybe the 5 got into it, and it looks like the 0 gets turned on around, gets up into the wall. And I think Slauson just not able to get the car slowed on down in time.
And I'll be the first to say it, that I hate that for Todd. That's been his luck all season long.
Take one more look at this caution. The 00 of Boyer kind of leading that group. Right behind him, the 28 machine just gets into that right rear quarter panel, sends him up into that outside retaining wall. All the rest of the drivers scatter, and we're back under yellow. And take a moment to sit back and look at this. Corey Wharton, Nate Defiant, all those top 7 have not pitted. I'll see if they will under this yellow.
You almost got to think if the guys that just pitted, if they stayed on the lead lap, because right now obviously Powell and Boyer seem like they have the worst of the damage. Slauson saying he's going to blow up, but you got to think the guys that had just pitted, that big satellite group that I've been talking about, they'll be able to stay out here. Maybe come in and just be sure. Slauson saying he just blew up.
So Todd Slauson in the 22. Maybe a little bit of damage to that machine as he's slow on that apron. You heard him say over the radio he just blew up. Tough break for Slauson right there. As he's going to try and limp that thing back around to pit lane. But like we mentioned, no fast repair to repair that as we look back toward your leaders. Looks like they're going to go down pit lane. We'll see if Edelman follows. They do. Drayton Cook will stay out. We'll see if anyone stays out with him. And it's a mixed bag so far.
And I'm actually surprised. It seems like a couple of them guys are staying out. It's like Chad, Dalton, and then maybe Justin. But I would have figured most of the guys would have stayed out.
Absolutely. An interesting call here. We'll see if a lot of these guys are either topping on off or if they're just trying to get maybe tires on the car. But an interesting strategy by a couple of these guys here in this late race caution.
I know, like I said, that seems to be Todd's luck all year, though. You know, he's running towards the front, and something like that happens. And I can just say, you know, being as long of a season as it's been and whatnot, I feel for the guy. He's running good, and then stuff like that happens. You know, him and Corey were trying to work out pitch strategy, and he checked up, and Corey got into him. So, I mean, nothing you can do. You know, he's not mad. He's not, you know, blaming Corey or anything. It's just one of them deals. But luckily, you know, I think he's sitting third or fourth, maybe even fifth, actually, in the chase grid right now. So he's in no matter what, but you just hate to see it for him.
Absolutely. Really tough break, and that's what's so crazy about these super speedways is you can run really up front all race long, and you see something like that. Maybe a driver gets turned, and something bad like that happens, and just a tough break for a lot of these guys. As light's going to be off on the pace car, that signals 1 to go until we take the green flag again. And Josh, I'll ask you first. Is that the last yellow we've seen, or are things about to get dicey?
Like I said, as a league owner, I want to say we're done and it's going to be a great finish. But like I said, it's Daytona. Everybody wants to win, especially, you know, here and just, you know, having a shot on even playing field. You're going to see some moves, I'm sure. I think even if it's not the last caution, it's going to be a great finish. To be honest, I don't even know who's going to win it. We got 12 to go and we come back green, and I still couldn't tell you who's going to win. Although, if you look up front from who stayed out, I don't think we've called his name once tonight. Drayton Cook. And to his outside, Chad Engel. This is kind of a different front row than we've seen all night. And even then, Justin White. I think he's around maybe dead last all night. He finds himself in fourth.
Cook, Engel, White, and Tucker all were in that group that pitted 5 and 4 laps ago. So they should be good to go on fuel as well. And then staying out during the caution as we're going to get set to take this restart here at Daytona. Shake up in the front of the pack. And you see actually a little damage there on the 89's car. Damage on the 24. And this pack of 21 cars going to get set to go off of turn 4. You see the lights on the pace car glowing a little bit brighter now as we head into the Florida night. Green flag in the air. And Drayton Cook takes us to the green flag. Outside line gets stacked on up a little bit. And a great run by the inside as the 24 and the 20 going to get a good push here. The 20 thinks about going outside. Doesn't have the 29 clear yet. Wharton looks, peeks, thinks about going. I think he wants the 24 to go with him. Not just yet, as they say, single file through 1 and 2.
It almost seemed like Chad missed a shift. But, you know, one of the things I mentioned earlier, you know, Dalton and Corey, with a little bit of rivalry going after last week, you may not see them help each other. You know, I think if it came down to it, and one of them's leading, the other one's running second, leading the line, you're going to see, I would say, some haymakers thrown for blocks, but it's about to heat up for sure.
2x2 through the top 12. We haven't seen anyone go 3 wide. If there's a time to do it, it's probably soon. As Cook holds on the lead for now. He's got Wharton on the outside. Wharton getting a good push from Briscoe. We've seen Briscoe dabble with the top 5, and now he's up there trying to make a push for the lead.
Like I said, you're probably going to see the toughest pushes all night that we've seen. I'm sure you're going to see, maybe not the first 3 wide we've seen, because I'm pretty sure there were some earlier, but you'll see a lot more of it as the business is about to pick up for sure.
Approaching 10 to go here at Daytona. We haven't had a clear runaway with it yet, and everyone all in this one pack. No one hanging back at this point. It's go time for all of these drivers crossing the stripe. 10 to go here from the Super Speedway.
And I'd be lying if I said it's kind of ironic, you know, the guys that kind of have the new rivalry of the B Series, Dalton and Corey. Corey's leading the outside line, and you could say even leading the point series guys. Drayton, yeah, he's leading the race. Dalton's right behind him. You gotta think Dalton's already in his head. You know, I gotta go for it. You know, especially seeing Corey now clear from the push from Briscoe and Nate. Now you got Briscoe leading the outside line and Corey now on the bottom.
Wharton down to the bottom. Briscoe on the top side. The 24 of Tucker trying to find a way up to that front grid. And he's kind of stuck behind the 89 of Drayton Cook. Cook trying to go somewhere with it. And the 62, a good little run here. And you know who's also slowly climbing up? Jason Brewer in that number 4 car. We're starting to see him enter the picture a little bit.
I know the cars are way different, but there's a lot of names in here that just from me being obviously the league owner, knowing that they're going to be in the Cup cars tomorrow running. You know, another, I think it's 90 some laps or something. Jason Brewer being one of them. I think Briscoe might be running. I'm trying to think of else. Chad Engel, Susie. You know, there's a lot of guys that maybe not directly from the cars, but could be taking notes, you know, as the track, you know, well, it really hasn't even cooled off, but as, you know, we go to the nighttime, or maybe pushing here and not here, you know, putting it in the memory bank for tomorrow night. But if you notice too, under 10 to go, there's no second pack. If your full song can keep up, you're in this main pack right now. It's go time.
Absolutely, and as you see guys start to get closer and closer to watching the 89 all the way on the bumper of the 20, the 62 also on the bumper of the 20. And we heard Josh mention at the top of the broadcast that pushing so dangerous in terms of engine temperatures. So pay attention. These guys might have to jump around a little bit if they stay locked on that rear bumper.
Right now, like I said, your top 18, Keegan Bitzer, the last car in this group, him, Brandon Andrews, and Trevor Rappolo, kind of off the pack a little bit, but they're still there. And I noticed it while I was looking at those three. The teammates have been talking about it all night. Timmons and Edelman, they pushed 3 wide, kind of pushed Jason Brew out of line, and they're kind of making a push to the front. I saw Corey Wharton throw a block. It worked on Briscoe, but it ended up costing him as, you know, Drayton and Dalton got back to his inside. Now Dalton was clear for a moment, as Drayton, you know, led that lap. Corey now hooked up with Briscoe again, going to get another push, but got to wonder now, does Corey learn from that? Maybe not throw the block as early, maybe let Briscoe get maybe to his right rear quarter, so that way he can kind of hold the bottom.
Drivers trying to plan their attack. 7 to go, 6 to go when we hit the line. And you see the number 4 machine starting to peek up to that top side. We'll see if anyone goes with them just yet. Nobody as of yet, but things due to change the next couple laps. And the number 20 drops to the bottom. Here we go. Wharton going to open it up for Briscoe on the top side.
Like I said before, the bumps are getting fierce. Drayton almost turned Corey off the corner. Everybody's checking up now. And there we go. Once again, checked up on the top. And now Blade and Edelman. And I'm sure somebody else now going to force it 3 wide. You might have the satellite teams and the manufacturers, but right now everybody's going for it. Drayton is locked on that bumper.
The number 9 of Justin White joining on in up at that top 3rd groove. Still 2x2 at the front, however, and Briscoe trying to make his way back toward the front. But a good push by Drayton Cook. Going to push the number 20 out to the lead.
I know Briscoe, you've mentioned a couple times, Briscoe's got to win. I know Corey's got to win, but you know, right now I think Dalton Tucker's close to, I think, 60 playoff points, if not already there. These guys are trying to get every playoff point they can, whether it be stage win or race win right now, to close that gap and make the playoffs that much easier for them. So right now, if you're Briscoe or Corey, yeah, obviously you want to win, but at the same time, as long as it's not Dalton, that's a win no matter what.
So we saw the number 90 get turned around into the inside retaining wall because it's below the apron. iRacing not going to throw the yellow flag. We remain green here at Daytona, and a tough break for Trevoropoulos back there in the 90.
I actually didn't see that, so it's a good catch by you on that one. But Briscoe cleared Corey, dropped to the bottom, kind of checked that line up. I know Drayton got into the back of Corey again, but once again, probably sound like a broken record, but the duo of Timmins and Edelman, they're now second and third on the outside line, pushing Nate. I would be willing to put some money on them if I was a betting man, but right now, oh, Dalton gets door. Dalton's going to be the inside wall, and there's a caution for that one.
Yellow is out. Dalton Tucker down into that inside retaining wall. And let's take another look at how that just transpired. You see the 24 down there on the bottom. The 25. It's shuffled on around. It looks like Blade Timmons might have got pushed a little bit by the 62 in front of him. I'll try and get you another look at it here. Down the back straightaway. Just no room to maneuver. And the 24, the only car involved. And what a tough break for Dalton Tucker and the 24 team. Ran strong all night long. Was involved in an incident early. Made his way back with all the damage. And you know who's breathing a big sigh of relief? The number 20 machine of Corey Wharton after seeing that one.
This is kind of one of them tough, calls as an admin or, anybody. The two cautions before, it was kind of just, kind of pushing on the wrong side of the bumper, and you could easily make a call on it. This one, from what I can see, really, you can't put it on anybody. I mean, Corey came up, Nate or Blade was pushing Nate, and they all kind of just checked up. And like I said, you really can't blame anybody for that. I'm actually surprised the caution even came out for that. But unfortunately for Dalton, he was chasing the regular season points title to get, them bonus or playoff points. He got the gap down to 8 points coming into the night. He may have, based on stage points, actually had the lead momentarily. But just like that, though, at Daytona, blink of an eye, and it's kind of gone for him.
Only two cars heading down pit lane. That's Tucker in the 24, Ropolo in the 90. Both those drivers a little bit of damage needing repair. I'll try and get that car shirt on up before the end of this one. We're going to get a green-white checker finish here in the NORAB series, and I believe Josh can take us through the overtime rules.
Well, unlimited green-white checkers. That's what it should be. I think they're all saying one, but it should be unlimited. So if they play nice, we'll say, they could be done, in 3 laps, but could be, a couple more laps, but we'll see. But even then, knock on my wood desk here. We have not had a big one yet, and if there's a time, this is it.
Absolutely. Drivers talking to their crew chiefs, trying to figure out what's the move I need to make, who's going to work with me. And what's so special about iRacing is you can key that mic and talk to every other driver in the race. So guys might be trying to figure out who's going to push, who's going to follow, and at what point you break to the top. We'll see if anyone makes their way to that third groove. We haven't really seen it be successful tonight. We've seen a couple guys try it, maybe look up there and dabble in it, but no one really fully committing to that third groove just yet.
I would say you're going to see. I mean, it could be, it's tough to say because it is Daytona after all, but it could be, maybe the rubber not laid down. They've been running, an hour worth of practice, and then to this point, 84, 85 laps on the bottom, and then that second groove. So it could be something as simple as, not enough rubber laid down. It could be, maybe they just need more people up there. But if it's going to happen, you're going to see it right now.
Absolutely. So let's get a quick look at the race summary. brought to you by the NORA B Series. Here at Daytona, scheduled 85 laps. We've run 84 when we cross the striping at 2 to go. It'll be 85, so should we go green the entire first attempt at a green-white checker, we'll run 2 extra laps. But like Josh said, unlimited attempts at a green-white checker finish, so until we get that finish, we'll keep turning laps. And for drivers that might have taken just enough fuel for the end of 85 regulation, is that in the back of your mind as you come to this restart?
Kind of just gave them the old admin pep talk. It's been fun to watch, and there's unlimited, but let's put on a good finish and try not to be here all night. But I'm sure, like I said, I'm sure you're going to see some moves here. Corey's already shown that he's not afraid to throw the block. It bit him the first time, but like I said, you're trying to close the gap on Dalton. Dalton's got more damage now. Probably most likely won't be able to hold the draft, so I'm sure you're going to see blocks 3 wide, haymaker blocks thrown, 2 lanes wide. I'm sure you're going to see it right here.
So here we go, Corey Wharton, the control car for this restart. We've seen the number 20 be fast. We've seen the 62 be an excellent pusher all night long, but don't count out some other drivers, the 23, the 25. So we get set to go. The 36 going to beat the 20 to the line. That might be under review here, but a great push by Drayton Cook. Going to push those 2 out to the front.
Yeah, I'll have to check that one post-race. It seemed like Corey went on green, but like I said, I'll review it post-race just so I can kind of make sure we're all good here. Seems like Blade's under power as he's dropping to the back, and you're already seeing it. Drayton goes to the second line. Corey's pushing him. They got Nate and Edelman. Engel now coming up to push Briscoe, but Drayton's more than likely going to clear going into 3, and he drops to the bottom as we're going into 3.
Drivers switching lanes at will here. Drayton trying to block both of them, trying to get to that white flag before the yellow comes out. He's at the front, mixing it on up as they head toward the start-finish line.
As they now take the white flag, so this is official. They're going to run it back to the line. Drayton chose not to block Corey. So now the question is, will Corey get the help to maybe grab this win? Or will somebody from the back, can somebody sneak up and grab it? Kendrick just came over the radio with Matthew George. He said, if there's room up top, let's go for it. So here you go. You're going to see the 3 wide and the pushes. We might even go 4 wide as Briscoe goes to the outside of Drayton down the back.
Down the back straightaway, no room to maneuver for a lot of these guys. Wharton with a big run. The 62 all over his back end. Behind the leaders, they're going to wreck. They're going to race back to the line here. It's the 20 and the 62.
And there's the big one. That's the whole field. You're going to have 2 cars coming to the finish. Matthew George made it through. Here comes Nate to Corey's right rear. They touch. Coming to the line. Who's it going to be? Oh, I think Nate got it. He got it. What a finish.
What a finish indeed. Nate Defiant at the line. We saw everybody wreck behind the leaders, and Nate Defiant takes the win away from Corey Wharton. What a move by the 62 there at the end.
That was, I tell you what, for my first broadcast, I'll take that. That big one, I called it. I knew it was coming at some point. I didn't think the whole field would be in it, but man, what a finish.
Let's take another.
What would you call that? 4, would that be thousands? I don't even know. I'm terrible at decimals.
That is 4 1,000ths of a second. You are correct, is the difference in that. You're getting a look at the big one, Drayton Cook involved in it. And that is a tough hit for a lot of those guys coming to the finish. And just a huge pile up there in turns 3 and 4.
I'm still in shock. That was incredible. I'll be honest with you, Daytona, decent field, 23 cars took the green. I think we only had 2 yellows. I'll take it, but that finish, you can't ask for anything better.
Absolutely. What a finish there at the end. They touched, They kept it straight. Both drivers able to come away with a great finish. And let's bring in your race winner, the 62 of Nate DeFayette. And talk to us about coming off of turn 4 there, Nate. You see the whole field wrecking behind you. And did you think you had a chance for the 20?
I got to be honest with you. I just stuck it out there. I didn't know what the hell was going to happen. I saw everybody piling up behind us. I knew if I stayed ahead of the mayhem, I was going to be good. But me and Corey were racing real well the entire race. I knew it was going to be close, and I knew it was going to come down to who just caught the drop off. That
Absolutely. Well, we saw you be really comfortable pushing all night long. Talk to us. We talked to Josh a little bit over the course of the broadcast. He talked about how hot the car got so quickly. Did you face any of that, or were you able to pretty much manipulate it all night long?
it was pretty borderline a lot of the time. There were several points where I was on the verge of blowing up within 10 degrees. These cars are really hard to push with. I don't know what you saw. You thought I was comfortable pushing with. I was scared to death pushing all night long. It's so cars. I did a lot better getting pushed, but yeah, the cars get too hot too quick. It seems sometimes.
Absolutely. So take us through those final couple laps. We see the yellow flag come out. We know we're getting a green-white checker. We know it's unlimited green-white checkers. Did you have a strategy there, or was it just run and hope that nothing happens?
Honestly, I had no strategy tonight. I was flying solo with no teammate help, so it was just kind of a pick off and see what one of the some of the better drivers were doing and try to mimic what I thought their strategy was. So I came down to a little bit of finessing with the tires and everything, but we came out in good shape after that last stop. But those last few laps, I saw us staying here till 1 a.m. on green white checkers, honestly.
Well, lucky for you, we're not doing that tonight, and you come away with the win. Nate, the floor is yours. Anyone you want to give a quick shout out to here on the broadcast?
I just want to give a quick shout out first and foremost to my teammates at Imperial Motorsports, Tom Gold, Timmy Trowbridge, Scott Bellum, KT McCann. You guys have taught me everything I know, made this win possible for me. And my fans out there, I know there's a whole lot of them. And thank you guys for hosting the broadcast, and thanks to Josh for hosting the race. Glad we could bring some victory for the Checkers and Wreckers and Searchlight Simulation 62 here tonight.
Well, congrats again on what a great race and an excellent finish. Go enjoy Victory Lane and don't party too hard tonight.
All right, thanks, man. Appreciate it. Have a good night.
So that's the 62, your race winner here tonight. And you just hear the excitement in his voice. So cool to hear the excitement in that win. And now bringing in the second place finisher, Corey Wharton, by 4/1000ths of a second. Corey, did you think Nate had a shot there at the end?
Oh, I knew he had a shot. Definitely did. It's funny though. Whenever you broadcast, I end up doing something or getting involved in an interesting finish. So that should tell you and some of the others out there something. But yeah, no, it was a good race. Like honestly, between Nate and Todd and Sean, those were the three that like we're not teammates, but they were the three that we kind of like adopted teammates. I guess we kind of made like a self, or at least in my mind, I made a self alliance with them. I was like, if I'm working with Todd, he's gonna win it. And unfortunately, that caution happened right when we were talking about pit strategy, and I was tucked up behind his rear spoiler. I couldn't see anything, and I barely touched him, but it sent him through the grass, and he got involved in that wreck, which really sucks because every week something happens to that guy, and if he could catch a break, he should have had at least 2 wins already this season. But no, Nate, I haven't seen very often. I haven't seen the 62 much run this season, and he did a fantastic job. He was always pushing on the outside lane. He wasn't just hanging back or, afraid to let the thing blink a little bit. And he did a great job all race. And right there coming out of 4, I thought to myself I should just, cut down as low as I can and try and take the shortest way around. And for whatever reason, I just thought, oh no, he's going up high. Let me try and like cut off his momentum. And he ended up doing that to me instead. So it was a great finish. That's the mainstay of it. Is that it was a great finish. It was a great race overall. I'm sorry for all that got into wrecks and all the rest because I'd rather race against everybody than just have it where people can't, be competitive. So I feel bad for like Colby and stuff like that who got involved in the first one. And yeah, the wreck that happened on the last lap, I have no idea. I thought Matthew George was like 19th with a broken car, and somehow he finished third. So, it was interesting to see it in the rearview mirror. And yeah, as I said, major congrats to the 62. I think that's the first time a Ford backed car has won. So,
that
it's
is
all good.
correct.
Yeah, so I'm 100% happy for that. It shows there's more than just Toyotas in the field. And yeah, it was a good points day, which is better than I can say for the last couple of weeks. And it seems like everybody more or less mind their P's and Q's. So yeah, we just need one more of those at Darlington and start the playoffs on the right foot and go from there.
Absolutely. Well, second place finish. Anyone you want to give a quick shout out to for this second place?
Again, shout outs to Drayton, to Todd, and to Sean. As I said, the 3 adopted amigos. Shout outs to Reem, Outlaw Designs for painting the car, Outlaw Racing, which is the solo team that I'm on right now. And thanks to the Conovers for putting together the league and making sure that it happens every week between the trucks, the Xfinity, and the Cup cars, which, by the way, if you want to see another great finish, make sure you find whoever it is that's racing in it tomorrow, because there's going to be a Cup race here tomorrow. And yeah, if you're interested in getting involved, you just got to look up Joshua Conover on iRacing and send him a PM. He'll set you up and he'll hook you up. But if you come into the B Series, just so you know, I don't give 2 inches, and we're going to have great finishes whether you like it or not.
Hey, if you're free tomorrow night, we got plenty of rides over there too.
You already know that I work late on Thursdays. I can't do this every day, all right? I can't just show up and give you great content. I can't do it. Okay, I don't make enough for that.
To try.
Anyways, and again, thank you, Jay, for I think you did another video previous, and it ended up popping up and all the rest. So anybody who's out there watching, if you haven't shared this stuff, I don't know what you're doing. If you don't like it, find someone who does, because this is good content.
Well, a great finish tonight. We'll talk to you again soon there, Corey.
Much appreciated. Thanks, guys.
So very fun second place finisher, Corey Wharton. You heard it right there. Just having a lot of fun with it. Going to race hard, but definitely going to have a lot of fun. And Corey Wharton, you can see he won an Indianapolis road course. He's kind of up there in points, actually leading in points. So second place finish, great for the number 20 team as he tries to stay out in front of the number 24 all the rest of the season long.
I think that's the most, I guess you could say, ecstatic second place finish interview that I've ever heard. And kind of like he said, he needed a good points night. I think at one point Dalton was like 100 some points behind, but he was just racking up win after win after win. So even a second for Corey after the luck even he's had, along with Todd. I mean, Todd, I would say, has probably had the worst luck, but Corey needed a finish. He got second. Can't really ask for much more. He's looking good going into Darlington to get the extra playoff points for winning the regular season standings.
Absolutely. So we love to see that. Always fun to hear that. Now we're going to bring in our third place finisher, Matthew George. And Matt, run us through that last lap and what happened from your end.
A lot of luck. No, I was getting some big pushes from Ryan Kendrick there at the end. He told me to go high, make it 3 wide, if there was room, and I was going to, but the track was blocked there on the backstretch, and that's where I was going to go. That's where I had to run. And they're entering turn 3, all chaos broke loose, and man, I don't know how I got through that wreck. I gotta go watch that replay. I have no idea. Really hoping I was gonna come through the other end of it, and there were gonna be no cars ahead of me, and I was gonna steal that, but I'll take a top 3.
Absolutely. A third place finish, nothing to shake your head at. Talk us through the rest of the race from your end. We saw a bunch of guys kind of drift toward the back all race long. Was that your strategy coming into the race, was hang out and let kind of all hell break loose in front of you? Or were you just trying to pick and choose your battles?
Yeah, that's pretty much my strategy. Me and some teammates decided to do that. Heck, I've been wrecked up front, I've been wrecked in the back, so I decided to stay in the back this time. So it didn't really matter whether I was in the back or up front. There at States 2, I tried to race up front for a little bit, but it got pretty sketchy. It looked like a wreck was gonna break out, so I decided to drop back. Um, so I wanted to get some stage points, but uh, racing up towards the front there at the end is a better play, I guess, at least for tonight anyway.
Absolutely. Well, coming home third place. Congrats on that. And anyone you want to give a quick thank you to on the broadcast before we let you go?
Yeah, everyone out there that's watching this broadcast, and, you for broadcasting this, all the admins, uh, put on a lot of hard work getting this league going. Flatline teammates, for uh, helping out. Uh, and yeah,
Alrighty. Well, congrats again. Good talking to you, buddy. And we'll talk to you again soon. All right.
hopefully.
So that was Matthew George coming away third. And oh my, what a finish that we had here at Daytona. Let's run through your results of the NORA B Series Daytona 85. Nate DeFayette comes away your winner here tonight in that Ford Mustang. You heard Corey Wharton give a quick shout out about that. Corey Wharton himself finishes second, Matthew George in third. Brandon Andrews comes away fourth, Jason Brewer in fifth, Josh Susie in sixth, Trevor Apollo in seventh, Chad Engel in eighth, Ryan Kendrick in ninth, and Keegan Bitzer finishes 10th. Continuing on down your results, Martin Plute finishes 11th. Dalton Tucker, we saw him involved in that wreck just prior, finishes 12th. Sean Briscoe finishes 13th. Brian Powell in 14th. Justin White in 15th. Tim Abril in 16th. Blade Timmons drops all the way to 17th, along with the 89 of Drayton Cook, who finishes 18th. Alexander Edelman 19th, and you heard Josh mention Todd Slauson. Tons of bad luck for Mr. Slauson. He finishes 20th. Jake Boyer finishes 21st. Colby Wells 22nd, and Donald Ecker in 23rd. Well, Josh, final thoughts here as we wrap this up from Daytona. For me, great finish there, and was really surprised we went green on that first green-white checker.
Me too. I mean, I know I had said, if there's going to be a big one, you'll see it. I kind of saw it happening before the white flag, but they made it back and they waited till turn 3 to start wadding them up, and it produced a great finish. I would actually be willing to say that was the closest finish in our history. And actually, I can get an answer to that here in like 2 seconds. But I just put it in the Discord too. First time ever being in the booth, and I'm hooked. They spoiled me for sure.
No doubt there. And we saw 5 cautions all race long, obviously 2 of those being for the stage break. And like you talked about, the big one never happened until the white flag lap. And that really gave us a treat of having that big pack race all night long. And especially once we got to that 10 to go, 5 to go, and then that green-white checker, everyone grouped on up, everyone making moves. And everyone was relatively safe here tonight. We didn't see anyone kind of do a bullheaded move that maybe the entire field was mad about. And that was just so good to see all night long.
Yeah, I mean, it's always, a toss-up. I know, like I said, for our opener, it was a lot more hectic. I know running up front, there was a lot of guys throwing blocks, leading. There was a lot more variety as far as the strategy, because I know I ended up actually running the B opener in February, and I think our second pack was like half a track behind, whereas tonight I think the most you saw was maybe 4 seconds. That they kind of stayed somewhat close. But no, I figured the count would be higher than what it's been. It was a good count. A couple small wrecks. The big one didn't happen until the very end, which at that point you're racing for all it's worth. You're gonna probably end up having that. So, and actually, like I just mentioned, that actually is the new record for now, closest ever finish in our history. Granted, it's only been, I guess you could say, 1.5, 1 3/4, of seasons, but we've run all 3 series this year, and we ran trucks and B last year, so you figure basically 5 seasons just about worth of racing, and this is your new closest finish in our history book. So, Nate, I'm sure you'll watch this back. You're in the record books, buddy, both for your first career win and the closest finish.
Good time to get that win for sure as well. We're happy to bring you this broadcast here tonight. If you want more NORA B Series action, you can join the league by messaging Josh Conover on iRacing. Just send him a PM. Or you can check us out next week, same time, same place, as we head to Darlington Raceway for throwback night of the NORA B Series. So at the very least, come check out the start of that one so we can get a good look at all those throwback paint schemes we're going to see next week.
Like I mentioned, I'm looking forward to that the most. I think trucks are actually off again. So, depending on the admin situation, I might have to end up making an appearance in that one.
Then it sounds like we'll have a good in-race reporter.
Try my best. I definitely get my stripes at Darlington. That's I like it, but I don't think it really likes me back.
Well, Josh, it's been a pleasure sharing the booth with you here tonight. Hope everyone at home enjoyed it just as much as we did. We set a new record for closest finish, and what a great one it was. If you enjoyed, once again, tune in next week. 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time will kick on off at Darlington Raceway. Until then, everybody take it easy, stay safe, and